welcome back to another episode of Safe Space with Shay. I am so excited about this episode. This episode is going to be hot, hence my red blazer. Today, we are going to be talking about the emotional shame and guilt from a Black woman's perspective when it comes to sexual pleasure and intimacy. And today I have a very special guest. I have Renelle Nelson. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she is also a certified sex therapist. Hi, Renelle.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you accepted this. I have been following you for years on Instagram, and oh my gosh, with your content you share is so real and so relevant, and so I appreciate you and all that you do.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. So tell me, what sparked your interest to become a therapist in marriage and family counseling?
A therapist, I think that I just wanted to be like anybody in the African American community or Black community. I wanted to be a pillar in the community. I started off working with children, and then I transformed into working with the parents because so many people, want to work with the kids, but they went home and the environment didn't change. So I said, you know what? I want to work with the core. So that thrust me into couples work and doing more couples work. And from couple work, it just expanded.
Oh my God, I love that. And I think that people don't realize like the relationship is the center of it all, right? And
Yes.
so when you don't have that foundation in that relationship, it just really can go left. It could really threaten your healthy relationships that you do have, with your family, with your friends, with coworkers. So that's so important and so key.
Yes, it is. That's why I wanted to focus on it more.
Yeah, for sure. And has that been fulfilling for you? What's been the most satisfying for you in your line of
Um,
work?
Reconnection, saying thank you. We found somebody that looked like us, that
Oh,
can relate
man.
to us. Thank you for keeping it real. We love your candor. So I love that. Trying to break that stigma of therapy. And so
Yeah.
I try to, really change the structure and how I present myself so people can feel more relaxed to create the change.
Oh my God, I love that. And I know it got to be like very gratifying to see like more people are open to it now.
Yes.
Before it was just like mum's the word, you don't say
Yes.
nothing. And so just to see that outward acceptance and interest and curiosity, I know that's fulfilling too.
Yes. Such a growth in the field right now, and I love it.
Yeah. Ah, love it, love it. Well, let's dive into our topic. So, I want to understand from a Black woman's perspective, where was the core of this shame and guilt when it came to Black women experiencing sexual pleasure or intimacy?
That's a loaded one. So we're
I
gonna
know,
just gonna have to
right?
pick part one, two, and
Yeah, yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think if I go to the core, I would think historically.
Mm-hmm.
Based on like when I say something, it's not every person's story, but I just work
Yes.
with a variety of different people. It had comes a lot with that generational narrative, the narrative they heard growing up, that society narrative, right? And I think those combined kind of create your core in that trial and error. I don't think Black women, far as being fetishized or used for medical research, I don't think we ever heard that word pleasure. And if it was
Mm,
pleasure, pleasure was seen as bad. Pleasure was seen as bad. Pleasure wasn't seen. We wasn't supposed to enjoy it. If we enjoyed it, we were a nympho. Something was wrong with us. We were a sex maniac. We was a hoe. So something like that. I think that over the years that's really changed. But I think that betrayal of self came from, I'm gonna say historically, from what I
mm-hmm.
found out and what I interview a lot of people on.
Yes. So, how does one move through that betrayal to gain a sort of understanding and confidence? Because I think that's important.
What I'm taking people back to is understanding where they learned it, what did they learn? Because I'm so into you have to know your story. You know, you have to say, hey, you know what, and the people who told you your story. So knowing where that narrative come from, sitting down and processing, like, where did I hear that from? Because sometimes when I hear like I have to be small, I can't do this because of this. I said, tell me where that's written at. What doctrine is that? What part of the Bible is that? Who told you that? And so many times people can't grasp where that is. It's just something in them. So I like to go back to challenge a lot of thought. And I like for them to just see where they learn this from. Because when they see, hey, you know what? I don't know where I learned it from. It's easy to unlearn and unravel so you can relearn to get to what you want and desire.
I love that, unlearning and relearning, and I think
Yeah.
that's essential to your growth and your overall involvement and your satisfaction in your sex life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I also think too, like, so I'm not saying all, but a lot of black women have experienced some sort of sexual trauma,
Yeah.
through abuse or through rape. Like, how do you support those individuals to kind of find that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like that attractiveness, like tapping back
Yeah,
into
yeah, just that
enjoying.
reconnecting back to their
Yeah,
body. I think
yeah.
one thing is understanding what happened and it wasn't their fault. Um, Addressing the trauma. So many times people try to go over the trauma, but going in there and addressing the trauma for them to give a narrative to what happened to them, who was involved, what happened, and how they didn't have a say so, and how to gain their power and their voice back. You know, don't let them take everything from you. So really taking the power back of their bodies, their desires, and their consent. So we just really talk more about that and how to give voice to what happened. Be angry about it. So many times, black women, we cannot express our anger. Be angry, be pissed. We don't have to forgive everybody, and just understand that, and then release that so you can grow. But I think you have to acknowledge what happened. I think you have to discuss it and get more aligned with your body. And so we know it wasn't your fault. Because so many times, you know, growing up in the black community, we overdeveloped, some of us. You know, we call this fast, or you shouldn't wear that, or don't sit on so and so lap, or look, you can't do this, or you hanging out with boys. So sometimes it's the shame because we felt that we did it to ourselves, right? And the community don't support that. They be like, yep, that's what happened to you. And just like with date rape, you know, so many times I shouldn't have been there. I put myself in that situation. I might as well. So it's a lot of resentment, a lot of shame, a lot of silence, and thinking they were the cause of it. So really letting them give voice to that, getting that all out of them like a detox, a cleanse, and then relearning, you know, and unlearning those myth busters that no matter what, no mean no, really getting them an education so they can see it wasn't their fault. I think that then opens the portal for understanding, change, and creation and acceptance of self.
I love that. Oh my God. And when you said that, like, oh, I felt that. So for me, I'm like, okay, if a person hasn't addressed that, like, how does it look to them in their, day, I don't know, like not day to day, but their behavior? And then how does it look when they start to address it? Like, what are some things they can notice
Yeah.
when it comes to,
Power, victim language, like, you know,
okay,
watching how your shoulders, like, this what happened to me, or you know what, somebody did that on to me. That's
oh,
they shit, that's not mine, right? So really that they need the help, and I'm sorry that I was a part of that, right? And just really taking that back because they didn't cause it, and not letting the indiscrepancies of somebody else base their characteristics, right? So we learn from that, like maybe we should be, you know, not hyper vigilant, but
right,
just be more safe and highlight. But if it happened in childhood, we can't do nothing. That's what we learned. That was
right,
a grown adult. You was a
yeah,
child, and giving voice to that child now, letting them say no, letting them be angry, saying, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that." So giving voice to that, so sometimes we can heal that part of them by giving voice to that child that couldn't say that, or a
yeah,
teenager. You know, so I think
yeah.
that kind of heal. I think it's all about empowerment and understanding the roles and how we can be victimized but not be a victim all our life.
Okay, I like that because it's that mindset. And so you also talked about, as far as like the adult who did that, what is your take on child sexual abuse? Like,
It,
what impacts it?
child on child sexual abuse, I think developmentally, kids are naturally curious. So I know I'm gonna get a lot of slack for that, but it experimenting stuff like that. But when we see in the media like these older children raping other kids and everything like that, I think it comes from trauma. I think it comes from exposure to sex without education, or like textbook, somebody did it on a them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody did it on a them, or they want to experiment on their own and they go to the weakest link. So I can't really
Mm-hmm.
say natural curiosity, but when it was that demand, we know two minors can't consent, but I think the natural curiosity and exploration, but when it is tragic and create trauma, it comes from trauma.
Got you.
It's harder. I
Okay.
think it's harder to heal because those kids are not in a developmental mindset, and we seeing that
Mm,
um, more and more, especially
yeah.
as people don't have sitters and everything. You know, we just
Yeah.
had an incident that happened that we've been in the news, so that's a real tough one.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. But thank you for sharing your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to, because I think I might have heard something or read something. Oh, I had, I had took this child, no, not child, but it was like a teen sex class. I was trying to do it with my son just to kind of educate him, right?
Hmm.
Because he was preteen, so I just wanted to kind of get ahead of the curve to,
Yeah.
get him exposed to certain things. And so within that little workshop, they talked about something. I was like, I never thought about that. How when you look at, sex or pleasure, it's always from a male gaze and not from a woman. And I think that I'm like, wow, that's why I feel like it's so performative for women. And it puts so much pressure on them because they're looking at it from, a male's perspective. I have to do this to please them, but then forget about themselves.
Wow.
How do you feel about that
I'm
and
so
kind of
sorry that I'm so sorry that they said that too in that class because I think that's the setup. I think
okay.
that's what make I have a lot of men with performance anxiety based on what they feel like they should do. I have a lot of women, more men on performance anxiety. Women have other concerns, with hygiene. Am I doing it right? Should I do this? Men is more performative. I think then we
Okay.
educate that sex is an act and not an experience. I think we really, really just take in the whole sex and what it can be away from everybody, especially when we say experience of sex and pleasure. Performative sex don't
Right.
really, it can be pleasurable if it's consensual and we say that that's the experience that we want. So I think that I'm sorry that that was said because I think that's a misconception,
Yeah.
but it makes sense because a lot of my men are coming in for performative concerns, and when the penis doesn't work, they associate that with not being worthy, and then they avoid all contact because that's how they demonstrate. So when that doesn't work or something going on or loss of desire due to low testosterone, trauma, cancer, diabetes, all of that stuff, when that desire and the penis doesn't work, it really shuts them down and they don't feel like they can partake in anything. So I'm just sorry that they are putting that on
Well,
like that.
thank
It's a
you.
disservice.
Yeah, and thank you so much for clearing that up. So when you talk about, and I love that, like sex, it's an experience. When you look at it from that lens, I think you approach it different, right?
Yeah.
And so what are some ways, like, black women and men can kind of shift in their perspective from sex as an act to sex as an experience? What are some things they can do?
I think it's consensual because I think you should develop one thing. We feel like it's only one way to have sex, and I think you can come up with a sexual menu. It's different varieties from making love to doing this to doing a quickie, doing everything. I think just making it look like a menu of experiences, and so you don't go into the anxiety that I have to perform on this one level. right? And you need that communication so we can be in alignment. And I don't think that's happening. So I think more communication. But first off, if we go way back to the root, understanding what arouses you, what's your desires, what's your fantasies. So we know intimacy is into me, you see. Understanding who you are. You know, what are you healing from? What are your betrayals? What are any pain points? Some people, I had a guy who had to get a testicle removed. You know, what are you healing from in your body? Women have vaginismus. We have so much going on. Understanding who you are and what you desire at that time, I think knowing you and sharing it with your partner, that creates an experience. And then you join together to co-create an experience.
Okay, and that makes sense. But I think too, a lot of times, ego and probably like we talked about before, shame and guilt that gets in the way. So do you think it's better for like the male or the woman or the man to like go to one-on-one therapy to kind of identify those areas before they bring it to their partner?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't push therapy. I push.
Okay.
I push outside.
Okay.
Barbershop talk for men is
Oh,
good. They
okay.
got podcasts. A lot of the male are going to podcasts, spiritual retreats.
Okay.
Just doing their own thing and let them be open because everybody learn in different environments. And therapy is not for everybody, especially talk therapy. So I would just say find something that works for you. Some people have like to be self-paced and do their own courses. A lot of stuff is online. I just say educate yourself. We pay for higher education. You know, we got all these student loans. We go to church. We learning about everything else. Take the time and learn about yourself. So I don't care what that may look like, but enrich on you instead of enriching on everything and everybody, to me.
Okay. Nope. I like it. I like it. Thank you for that. So I want to really dive into the intimacy part because I think intimacy and pleasure can kind of be kind of intermingled. I know they're connected, right? But when you think about intimacy, can you tell me what that looks like? And then you think about pleasure. What does that look like?
I think intimacy, see, this is where it gets to a societal and cultural. I like
Okay.
my clients to define what it means to them. So many times therapists get to that voice and we project what it is, and then the person feel like, no, that's not for me, I'm less than, everything like that. I say, what do you feel it is? Because you are more have more of a buy-in when you create your own definition. What makes the displacement and the mismatch of everything is when somebody put a definition on you. So I would just say what I think it is, what the what is it called? The theories think it is. What do you feel it is? I think intimacy can be proximity. Intimacy can be feelings. It's several different types of intimacy. We got recreation, conflict. You put anything in front of intimacy is your intent too. So we know intimacy can have that to me. And when I work with my clients, intimacy is connection. Because I try to divide intimacy from sex, right? But some people think intimate, sex is an intimate act, so that's intimacy. So
Yep.
I say while working with me, I separate it. Pleasure is the arousal or the excitement to do something. I get pleasure because I love eating a pizza. You know, I get pleasure for seeing, going to the lake. I get pleasure from doing like that. Pleasure is that desire and that thing that you want to do. Pleasure is just not sexual. So that's why I say you hear people say you deserve pleasure. Pleasure is your birthright because so many people feel like they gotta look a certain way. They can't have any mental health concerns. They can't have any traumas to receive pleasure. And I say nothing is a prerequisite for pleasure. You know, you are all owed pleasure. You just gotta find what works for you. So I say what I hear it is, and then I let everybody I work with define it on their own because they're going to be more loyal to their own definition.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Yeah, no, that's perfect because you're right. When they are the center of defining that, they adhere to it better. They're clear about it. You get what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
no, that makes
Yeah.
total sense.
More buy-in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, just hearing our conversation and what we've talked about so far, it is like the core of it is, I feel like, your emotions. Like I always, think about, being emotionally well, or your emotional wellness.
Yeah.
And that is really the core of, our sexual pleasure, the sexual intimacy that we have. If we're unwell, right, we're going to be kind of like unsatisfied or not fulfilled in those areas, right? So, what are some practical, I guess, things people can do to kind of develop like not a stronger, but just being more in tune with themselves on an emotional level?
So when we tapping into stuff, I think to go in with curiosity. This is new language. What emotion? What is all of this? We
Yeah.
hear emotional regulation, where I say comes before communication. We hear emotional intelligence. I would say do your research. I think a lot of it is the core is understanding your emotions, where they come from, understanding that you can't control your emotions, you can control your behaviors. So I think that's an in-depth self-study that people should can do, and see what emotion intelligence and readiness and regulation means to them and in their body, and how to do the activities that give them that. So I think it's something that can be learned and something that can be taught or structured, but I think it comes from an openness to want to do it. I don't think anything's going to come by force. So when people say that, I see a lot of people saying emotional intelligence. I think we got to break it down, and it's based on what you got space for. A lot of emotions, especially with black men, are not safe. Especially with some women with trauma, it's not safe. So we can't project that. We like, what will make you safe and what will make you invulnerable is a scary word for some people.
Yep.
And in the black community, we can't
Yeah.
afford to be vulnerable. So I mean, we got to understand, especially in the cultural context, what these words can be, and not project mainstream jargon onto these different cultures, because it don't land like that. What most can be like educational can cause a lot of trauma. So what I like to do is take those buzzwords out and you name it. Maybe it's just knowing yourself, knowing how you feel. I try to take the buzzwords off so it don't feel so hard to get to. Right? So I just like saying, when you feel something, what does that mean? So really breaking it down in a language that you understand, not trying to understand somebody else's stuff. Because that
Yes.
make you always feel less than. And when you feel
Yeah.
less than, you feel like you never can catch up. And then you go to that victim language. Hey, I'm never going to learn this and everything like that. So I just try to normalize. Narrative is very big in my practice.
Oh, I love that. And I hear and I feel what you're saying. It seems like you meet your clients where they are.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's so good that you're just so intentional about that. You're not just putting, this label or this guideline out there, right? You're like meeting them where they are and having them define what certain things look like for them.
Yeah.
So I
I think
love
that's
that
the best
approach.
way to do,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
to me. To
yeah.
me. Because it's your story.
That's right.
And that's what
That's
so
right.
happened when you talk about shame. So many of our stories was given to us. We didn't create it. And I think that's where that come about from. I want you to define your own story. What's your next chapter? Because we can't blame how we grew up. We have to take some responsibility. When are you not going to stop blaming what happened to you? Yes, that scar is there, but how are you going to rise up for that and take responsibility and tag off and just you deserve it. You deserve it. Can you feel like you deserve it? So I
Yeah.
think that's just how I work. It
Yeah.
feels better.
Yes, it does. I love that. And my tagline, I am worthy, I am deserving, right? You're deserving because you're recreating. So, I love it. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Well, is there anything else you wanted to put emphasis on? We're in the spirit of love and connection.
I think one thing is let those four letters LOVE, don't let those harm you. Love can be a trigger. Especially if you haven't had your person, or you had your person and they betrayed you, or the people you love betrayed you. Don't let Valentine's Day or any day define what that is. You make meaning out of it. I think so many times society make you feel ashamed if you don't have anybody or you don't love yourself. I think just be easy and gentle with yourself and don't let these norms weigh you down, because that's just all that they are. So I just want to empower anybody to move through Valentine's Day to make it your own.
Love it. I love it. And are you accepting new clients at this time?
Yes, I'm accepting clients. I'm licensed in Arizona and Wisconsin, but I am accepting coaching clients worldwide.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So how can they reach you? I'm definitely going to include that in the show notes, but you can
Yeah.
go ahead and shout yourself
So,
out.
Kaleidoscope Services, which I can give you, is for therapy. Renelle E. Nelson, coaching and consultations for coaching. You can find all my products for my Instagram, Affair Aftercare, because I work with infidelity and betrayal. And then Noir Sex Therapist, I help black women reconnect and love themselves again after betrayal.
I love it. And do you have a book coming out?
I do have a book. I have a
Okay.
book about a women's guide, a black woman's guide to reconnecting to pleasure after betrayal. So it's really going to be part memoir because I am a survivor and I want to let everybody know, because I don't think too many books tap into our journey with betrayal, because we have so much cultural context that people
Yeah.
don't understand, because we're not safe out here. Then we finally find somebody that's safe and then they dog us and be like, damn. So
Right.
it's deeper. And I'm not, and then I always say these disclaimers, and I feel like I should because no other culture do. I don't speak for everybody. I'm speaking for the people who feel it, right? Who say this is for me. So I'm just saying sometimes culturally that can be a lot. And I know as a black woman with not feeling safe anywhere, finally loving something so bad, and for that to betray you, it just feel like the world isn't safe.
Oh yeah, and that's a story that needs to be said. So I can't wait so I can get the book and I can promote it. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem. And thank you all for joining me on this episode. Remember that you are worthy, you are deserving. Find ways to reconnect, unlearn, relearn, and know and always honor yourselves. Until next time, bye.
Thank you.